All right, we're gonna get started here. We already got a question.
Love
So
it.
well, I just to let everybody know, if you are attending, we can't see or hear you, so that's you don't need to worry about your own background noise. You'll just hear me and Jim as we're talking. And we will have the Q&A open, so we want this to be as interactive as possible. So if you have questions as we go along, please type them into the Q&A. The way this webinar is set up, you can't ask questions live speaking, so that's the way we're going to have to do it, and I will monitor those and then make sure that Jim gets them. But I should introduce our guest today. So we have Jim Eisch from Pool Corp with us today, talking about the Pool360 pool service software. I'm sure if you've been reading the magazine, if you've been anywhere on like the pool internet this summer, you have been seeing this popping up. And so I'm excited that you guys actually get to see this kind of live and in person. It does some really great things for service companies in particular that yeah, I'm excited for people to see in person. So I'm going to turn it over to Jim and let him roll. And yeah, please ask any questions as they come up, and we'll get those going.
Sweet. Thank you so much, Megan. And guys, girls, lady, women, and men and women, thanks for joining. I should use that correctly. I appreciate you guys taking some time out of your day to kind of give us a little bit of inside look into Pool360 pool service. As Megan said, I'm Jim Eisch. I'm Senior Director of Business Solutions at Pool Corp. So what that means is I oversee a lot of the planning, rolling out, implementation, and support of our software solutions. Mainly being that we've been targeting the Pool360 service at doing the service industry and showing how we can help kind of really leverage some software tools to run a better business. So before we jump into today, I wanted to give an agenda as to what we're planning to cover today. So this kind of on the screen is what you guys were going to talk about, but Megan kind of mentioned it. I want to reiterate it. I want this to be as interactive as possible. I recommend you chime in. I know you can't interrupt me, but I'll ask Megan to interrupt me. So please type in your questions. If we're on a topic that I did not cover, or you just have a burning desire to learn more, I'm happy to slow down and kind of go through things a little bit deeper. So use the chat feature and Megan will feed me the questions. We'll go into it. So first off, what this webinar is about, why software? And before we get into our software specifically, that being Pool360, kind of ask yourself, why are you interested in software? How many of you are currently using a software application to like run your business? How many of you guys are considering, utilizing, looking at a new software, changing software, or adding a piece of software to better optimize your business? And then if you haven't signed up for a software solution, what is holding you back? Kind of ask yourself why software and how it can impact your business. Software is a tool. It's typically used as an additive to best business practices. And you really want to make sure that you're identifying, picking the software that can help your business the best. I like this quote. Software isn't just a tool, though. It is the invisible thread weaving efficiency, innovation, and growth into the fabric of business operations. And what this is saying is that software itself is not going to fix anything alone, but when you intertwine it with great customer service, you intertwine it with great management of personnel, of relationships, of pools, you name it, software really can help a good business become a great business. It can help a small business grow into a larger business, and it helps your business scale. So you want to make sure you're using it in a bunch of different facets of your business. Specifically to the pool service industry, software is a huge opportunity. And this is one of the reasons of why Pool Corp, while we are investing in pool service software, and why everyone in this webinar honestly should as well. I mean, if you look at our industry, we're in a very unique industry in the sense that people typically don't fill in pools. Every single year, there is more and more pools to professionally clean. Now, this is whether you're doing weekly recurring cleanings or you're doing, repair, installation, maintenance works. All of that means that your total addressable market is growing on an annual basis, and that's a unique factor of our industry. If you look at kind of the base of about a third of pools are professionally serviced, with another 65 to 70% being DIY. However, an important piece of note is though a customer may clean their pool, they may add chemicals on a DIY basis, many of those DIY customers, when it comes to repairs, installations, and other maintenance activities, ultimately use a professional service contractor. So even though they're not a weekly route cleaner, they're still able to partake in our industry from the professional standpoint. So going back to that why software, why are you looking for software? Are you guys currently using pen and paper? Are you using another software provider? Are you using billing mechanisms? What pieces of software are currently interjected in your business? And want to make sure that you're not using a bunch of software that ultimately is requiring more work than actually helping. Are you duplicative entering? Are you having to track customer information at multiple standpoints? Are you putting, some mapping information over here, and then I'm going over and re-entering all of that in to give them an invoice? That sort of stuff creates inefficiencies. So I want you to take a stock of what current technology you're using and make sure that it truly is helping your business. It's helping you be more productive as a service provider. So let's jump into Pool360 Pool Service, which is the software product that we are offering at Pool Corp that we've created. We've spent the last several real years really working with different industry professionals, trying to discern what is the important features inside of a software to ultimately help my business or your business run more efficiently. So Pool360 Pool Service at a high level is really kind of two applications merged into one. There's the Office Manager app, which we're going to go through in heavy demo today. It's important to note that works on computers, laptops, tablets, phones, whatever you name it, but that really manages the entirety of your business, the entirety of your customers. There's also the 360 mobile application. And I know many of you probably have the 360 mobile application, which does inventory replenishment and you can buy from your local branch. This application is crucial in managing your techs and your repair personnel if you're a multi-unit business, because that actually becomes where your techs or your cleaners manage their day-to-day operations. When you sign up for Pool360 Pool Service, a little module will unlock in there, and then you'll have access to the service functionalities of the app already. That's the important piece of this, is all of this is fully integrated with the existing Pool360 e-commerce website. So you're talking about inventory availability of branches, pricing, part schematics, all of that is inside of the product natively, in addition to all the increased service functionalities.
Jim, we already had several people mention that they've got Lamont devices that they want to connect to Pool360. So excited to get to that part of the presentation.
Shameless plug. I got one right here on my desk. So we do
I
have
did-
Lamont devices. We're always looking at other tech that we can help make our software better. That's a big piece. As a distributor, we'll work with a lot of different brands. And if you have a water testing device, we'll try to work with it ultimately. So let's jump into and go through what Pool360 Pool Service does. Now, this is a little different. Instead of me just going through slide deck after slide deck of saying, look, we do awesome routing, we do awesome service scheduling, we can help contract management, I actually want to pull up the software and go through a couple different facets of it. So if I start moving through an area you want to slow down, Megan, please slow me down, because there is a lot. The product is a very deep product, so we're only going to touch a surface of it today. And I'm going to try to highlight the pieces that really are impactful.
Sounds great.
So can everyone, my screen showing up here on the service software? Awesome.
Yep.
So this is the home page of Pool360 Pool Service. This is like a dashboard. So everything you have in your business is easily accessible here. If I want to see what tomorrow looks like, I click on a button and everything flows through and I see what's going on tomorrow. Scheduled services, completed services, if you have any scheduled tasks, closed tasks, all of that I can quickly access on the home page. It's just a way to quickly do business. Where this software starts getting really powerful is when you start looking at some of the individual modules that are here on the left-hand side. So first up, let's jump into customers. So inside of Pool360 Pool Service is a complete CRM, a customer relationship manager. And this is a crucial piece because no matter what piece of the 360 software programs you're running, if you're using water tests in your retail store, service in your backyard, if you're looking at our future opportunities, all of the customers move between them. So it's an integrated CRM. And inside of here, we have a whole bunch of different information we have about the customer. Everything about the customer you can track in here. Everything you need to know about their billing. You'll see on the top, this customer owes me a whole bunch of money. We're going to put that in red. Hey, don't quote and do more work with them until you get paid for the past work. Seems obvious, but it's just one of those things. If I can help you make a better decision quickly by displaying that information, we do that inside of the software. There's a break between the customer information and then the information we really care about to run our business, which is the pool information. So if I go into the site information, this is all about the pool. It's tied to the customer. I can have multiple sites per customer. So if I'm working with a property management company or I have an individual customer that owns 4 or 5 Airbnbs, I can add all of those to the customer where they get one singular bill, but I'm managing each body of water separately and tracking all the information. So this is all the information about the site, what their ideal PSI is on their filter cartridge. Great to know when to clean it. Any services that are scheduled on side of this pool. And then also all the information about this pool can be tracked here inside of the CRM. So what's their shape? What's their gallons? What's their finish? What sort of sanitizer they're using? This is important to know because when that technician is running their day-to-day routes inside of their business, they have all of this information on their phone. And when we go to what Megan talked about earlier, doing a water test poolside, this becomes crucial in generating an accurate recommendation and treatment for the chemicals. So
Hey,
you want to
Jen.
make sure, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, I thought you were done with that point.
No, go ahead.
Are you able to add customers as leads versus customers?
So you add the customers as leads. So you can add them into as a customer, and all of your leads and customers are ultimately customers. Now, whether they're actually active with services or not comes down to whether you have them scheduled or not. So if you have them active, they're an active customer. If they're inactive or lead, you can set that status. But ultimately, you want to add any sort of lead information in here because you don't want to lose that information about the customer.
Yeah. Yeah. And on the when you were showing the pool and all of the things it has on it, can you list the actual equipment models and all of that in there?
Yes, so pool equipment is right on this one. And if we go through
Oh,
here, I'll
great.
show you how this works when we're setting this up. This can be done on the phone by the technician poolside, and all the information flows back here, or I can edit as the manager in the Office app. But I can drop down here and say I want to know, their pool equipment. Let's go to what type of pump they have. All of our pumps are loaded inside of here. If we want to go through, what type of filter they have, all of that's loaded in here. If you want to put some other information, like do they have any automatic controls? Do they have a timer brand model? Maybe they have a water feature that you just want to track. We have a bunch of fields that you can put that in here. And then we
Okay.
also have a safety checklist that if you want to display this for your techs to know, hey, do they have two drains before they go on site for the first time? We can track that as well.
Yeah. And so on the structure details, can you add the dimensions of the pool and all of that as well?
So the dimension that we have gallons in here on the currently, we do not have dimensions currently.
Okay.
We
Okay.
have dimensions as a
Is there
calculator.
like a note section where you could just add that so it's there, even if it's not like entered?
Yes, so in this additional information area, this is a part of the site still. All of these are custom generated. So if there are pieces of information that you want to capture about the pool, we have a bunch of ones displayed here, gate codes, and do they have any pets, where to park, what side of the house to access. These are all generated. You can continue to generate as many of these as you ultimately want. So if there are certain features about the house or certain features about the pool that you want to take down, this is the place to do it.
Okay. Okay, great. And then and when you're integrating people or moving people from one program to another, you help upload all of their customer information. It's not like they have to go in and do that one by one, right?
No, not at all. So when you join on to Pool360 Pool Service, and we'll go through this in a bit of kind of the onboarding support, but any data that you have from a customer standpoint, whether you're an existing software or maybe you track it in Excel, if you can get it to us in a readable, legible format, we'll filter it, we'll scrub it, and we'll load it into the software so that when it comes time for you to go live, all of your customer information that you have is inside of it, and you're not spending the hours, days, I mean, weeks that it takes on sometimes to upload all these customers into a software.
Okay, great. Um, and if there are features that aren't listed in the drop downs, how would somebody handle something like that?
So yeah, if you found a product that ultimately you wanted inside the drop down, if you shot it into our support thing, we'll get it added in there as long as it is a valid product from one of the main vendors. If you want like some custom ones, you can generate those fields, and it's not necessarily a drop down, it's a free form text.
Okay, great. Yeah, the questions are coming fast. There's a couple that I'm going
I,
to wait and ask once we get to that part of the demo.
I
So
I like it. Keep it coming. So going through here, this is a lot about the pool. You also have your rates. We have a lot of different ways that we can bill our customers in our industry. I know a lot of you guys and girls bill monthly flat fee. Sometimes you might invoice by pool. Sometimes on some customers, you want to charge for chemicals. So kind of all these different billing iterations we can support, and they're all feature flags that are built out inside of the software. So if I have a customer and I want them to pay for chemicals, I'll check mark in here, normally pays for chemicals. And now that I know that when my technicians out in the field add those treatments to those pools, those are actually billable treatments that get added to their monthly invoice. So if you want to charge for all your tabs and your algicides that are added, you absolutely can. And if you want to just do a flat fee and don't, you uncheck that and it goes flat fee, no big deal. And we're going to go through all of this. That's why we have an onboarding process, in the sense that it can get very complicated, and you might have one customer that you want to bill one way, another customer that you want to bill another way. We can support it and we can help you make sure that's set out properly.
That's great.
Going through the customer a little bit, we'll go through pretty quickly here, but there's a lot of other information inside of here. This is a running list of all transactions. Think of it like a bank account. From here, as a manager or as an owner, I can post invoices, I can create invoices, I can track online payments, I can save down credit cards. So if I want to add a card to a customer's file, all of that I can do inside of this software. It just makes billing easy. It makes it so when I run my monthly billing, batch billing, which we'll go through shortly, I know the customer's card's there, I'm getting paid, I'm not having to track down AR. It's just some best business practices that we try to build out inside of the software. So that's a lot about the actual CRM. There is a lot more that you can do. There's a lot of customization that you can do. There's a lot of additional information you can generate ad hoc. Just make sure that you're providing the best customer experience. And that's ultimately what we built the software to do. That if you want to, know the spouse's name, their birthday, their pet's name, so that when you go on site, you can say, hey, how was this? You absolutely can put that in there, and it's all accessible on the technician phone as well.
Okay. So I see on the billing information, it has the sales tax down there for where that customer is located. Does that get calculated automatically then?
It does.
Okay.
So each customer, they could be in different localities, municipalities, there could be different rates. You load the tax rate by customer. So ultimately that bill goes to that customer with that tax rate. So
Okay.
if you operate in 5 different localities, no problem.
All right. And how does the automatic billing feature work?
Automatic billing, we'll jump down here. It's really simple. It's batch billing. You add that customer to a batch. You can have as many batches as you want. Say you bill a batch on the 1st. You can post that here. You select which month that you want to bill. It's going to tell me I've done this before duplicately. And then ultimately, I just ran a batch bill of all my customers' rates, the kind of weekly rates, the normally pays for chemical rates, what that is. Those all come into a batch, which if I download billing, which I'm in full screen mode, so it's not actually letting me download, but it's basically all of your customers inside what they have in the CRM get billed automatically in one go. And if they have a credit card on file, that credit card is going to get hit. If they don't have a credit card on file, then you can also take check or cash payments. You can track that inside of here. That if you want to post a cash payment, $40, pay it down, it's going to deduct it from ultimately their AR.
Okay. Okay. Great. And this does integrate with QuickBooks? Does it integrate with any other financial software?
Currently, we only integrate with QuickBooks. And the way that works is you link to your QuickBooks account, and then you map where different transactions go to your QuickBooks thing. So currently, we do QuickBooks Online because QuickBooks Desktop, we do integrate with on a flat file how they support. But because it's on desktop, it can't be real time. QuickBooks Online is real time integration.
Okay. Awesome. Great.
Yeah, so let's jump into a little bit of the actual operations of a cleaning customer. There's a couple cool things that we have inside of this software. Customer calls in, say they want a new weekly cleaning. I'm going to select a recurring service because that's a recurring service. I can pick all my customers inside of here, and then I can select a bunch of custom services that I have here. So all of these are custom services that you can create as part of your business. We can support as many as you need, but say it's your standard full service weekly. Now, when I selected that, I can click here and I can choose my technician that I want to assign this to, or you guys saw this loading right here. This is actually calculating the most efficient route to add this customer to. I clearly already go to this person on Thursday. So it's saying if I add this service to Lewis's route on Thursday, it's actually going to add 0 minutes of driving time. Now, say if I didn't have them as, it would start this, and the most efficient one to add them to would be Wednesday to Jim Pool Corp's account, because that's going to add 3 minutes of driving time. So this is when you already have an established pool service business. You have that customer that calls in. It takes kind of that, oh, where do they fit in my route? It's on the phone real time. You say, how does Wednesday sound for you? Okay, we're going to lock in Wednesday and go. It's just trying to save time. We also support a whole bunch of different repeat patterns. So say you're doing a new pool startup because you just built the pool, you have a new surface, and we know that you're not going once a week for that. Well, we can actually say, let's go every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I want Jim Pool Corp to do this. and my standard new startup period is 30 days, 60 days, or whatever it is. You set that here and it will fall off on that, and you can set up a normal repeat pattern if they become a cleaning customer. But that's important to know that this becomes extremely flexible. Think of filter breakdowns in some markets. Think of new filter cartridges. You can set them as every year. I'm going to replace the filter cartridge. That's a service I'm already scheduled out. Or I break down 3 times a year. I can support any of those kind of repeat patterns to make sure that I never forget to do the services in the backyard that need to be done.
Yeah. What if their employees, their technicians are paid depending on the type of service they provide? Is that information that would flow through for
That
them?
is, and that's where you'd use the reports module, is you could run that sort of report, and you could run what type of services your employees are doing. There's a whole bunch of reporting inside of here. So if you wanted to run that report, say, okay, Jim Pool Corp did these services in this time frame, I can run that report and I can pay them off that.
Okay. Okay. And does it track, can it track, maybe that's in the technician app, but like track how long they're at a stop, like a start and
Yes.
then
So
a stop?
that's a big part of the technician app. And
Okay.
everything inside the technician app is managed in a thing called field reports. So you'll see this displayed here. So we'll kind of walk through routing, and then we'll go through the technician app and what you see on here. So if I'm doing that cleaning, I made that new cleaning appointment. I put it on Wednesdays. This is the routing module. Each one of these is a technician. Each one of these cards is a service. So this is where I can look at my week and say, okay, what is David doing on Monday and what is he doing on Tuesday? Now, if I want to make a change to this, it's as simple as drag and drop. I can drag and drop back and forth. I can make these changes 2 different ways. Single time mode, say David is sick and I need to move all of his to somebody else. I can move that down, move that over. I can save it down in single time mode, and it will change just this week. Now, maybe David quit. I pop that into recurring mode. That's going to update all future weeks. So now my routes are set for next week, and I'm doing this. Now, I just did a lot of this, but I didn't really show what it looks like. I'm a visual person. I want to see what do my routes look like on a map. So I can
Yeah.
click the mapping button, and I have my date up here, and I can see, okay, my routes are actually looking pretty tight. That same drag and drop functionality is available inside of the map. So if I want to look at just David's route real close and I want to make sure it's in the right order that I say, I can save that down. Looks great. However, I just moved a bunch of stuff around. I didn't even look at it. There's this optimize button. So that uses real-time AI, which is actually turn-by-turn traffic. I click this and it's going to put it in the most optimal order based on traffic patterns in that area. Like all
Yeah.
things in tech, 90% of the time it's right on. You might have that one customer that has some, security gate issues that you want to make sure that you go to a certain stop. You might move him up to the first and say, okay, I'm going to take care of them first. Absolutely fine. But at the end of the day, it's completely flexible in the amount of customization you do. And if you want to compare 2 texts, 3 texts, all your texts, it automatically generates as you work through the software.
Can
And
the
so
tech can the techs see each other's routes or they only see what's assigned to them in the app?
So your technicians only see what's assigned to them in the app. So the technicians, if I'm a technician and I'm David, I'm seeing my list in order and what the service is, and I open my tab up and it prompts the workflow of do a water test, add your treatments, take the photo, close the job. So that customer gets that nice email with the picture that says, hey, we cleaned your pool today. It looks beautiful. And then when it storms in the afternoon, they come home, it doesn't look so beautiful, and they're not calling, yelling at you. So I mean, it's pretty standard, but I always recommend close out your services.
Sure.
It's always surprising to see how many people don't.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of going through routing, that's a lot of the management side of the routing. It's important. Everything we do in this manager app, and you can do this on a phone, a tablet, is live updated on your technician app. So if, William R. King calls in and says, I got to be at, in the afternoon, I drop him down later in the day, I save that down. David's app on his technician app is updated real time. And now he's going to see Alexander as his first stop.
Yeah.
And that
Are you
changes maybe with
able
time.
to, sorry, are you able to make it so, I mean, can you change the permissions so the text can see more of what everybody is doing? I guess.
So there's a couple different ways you can do it. There's a lot of permissions in terms of role permissions and then also user permissions that you can customize and to see who sees what. If you wanted to have a technician where they can see all of the routes of the other technicians, this is a phone app as well. And you would just give them the access to the routing piece of this phone app, and you give them access to this piece of the software. The technician app is really hyper focused on the workflow day to day and not so much the business management. So if you were going to manage a group of technicians, I would recommend just opening this on your phone and not using necessarily the workflow app of the technician.
Okay, great.
Absolutely. So going through here, that's a lot about cleaning. Let's now talk about what I see the technician app. It's kind of hard to display a mobile phone just by doing this. So we're just going to go through what you see as the tech completes his or her day. But this is all done in the field reports. So I have my start and complete time here as we discussed. So logged in, start. Okay, they were there a minute. I'm probably going to call that technician and figure out why they were there not even a minute. And then on the second one, they're there an hour and a half. I'm probably going to call them too as well and figure out why they're there for an hour and a half. But all this is dummy data at the end of the day. But each one of these little check marks is an action that the tech took out in the field. So does it have a valid pool equipment? Say if they didn't fill out that site assessment where you have like the gallons, the pump, all the information about the equipment pad, this would show blank because the technician needs to do that the next time they're out on the site. And then did they perform a water test? I can click on any of these and I can actually see what that test was. So if they're using the Lamont device, which pairs Bluetooth to the mobile tech app, if they run that water test, that result will display right here inside the management app and as well as the technician app. So as you as an owner and a manager, you can pull up and you can see what the technicians are doing out in the field, what chemistry exists on your customer's pool. Same things, recommendations. All of our recommendations are going to be backed on Regal, Easy Chlor, or Life products if it's a spa. And we're going to actually put inside of the technician app the proper way to apply these treatments. Now, I know a lot of us, we all know, okay, there's a little bit of algae. I'm going to shock it. I'm going to put in some yellow blaster. That's great. But what if I have a relatively new technician and they come across black algicide? That's a more complicated treatment procedure. And they might not be as well versed in water chemistry. We're going to tell you exactly how to properly treat that black algae problem. So ultimately the customer's taken care of. You know that your techs aren't ruining people's finishes, and that, which is a big deal. Those are quite expensive to replace. And that the customer ultimately says, wow, my pool's looking great. From there, we can add the treatments. And this is where that custom flag of whether it's billable or not. If this customer is checked as pays for chemical, this would automatically flag as billable and it would show up on their monthly invoice. Service photos. Always encourage your technicians to take a service photo. It uploads here. It can append to the email if you so choose. All that's customizable if you want to do that. And it's just a great way to sit there and have some accountability of say, okay, that pool was cleaned, etc. Also checklists. So a big thing inside of the technicians, these are totally custom checklists. You can customize them to your business and your service needs, and they're customized by service type. So you can create these lists of checklists. You can have some required. You can have some as optional. You can also have some as like an override. So sometimes if you're out there doing the checklist and you can't access the pump because someone parked a truck in front of it, which is silly, but it happens. I still need to be able to close out that job, but I put that in the completion notes and I override the checklist. And now as my owner or my manager knows, oh, okay, I see that was what was going on. And all of that's tracked inside here. I can go through and see all the service details. Everything's accessible. It's never deleted. It's always retained. So if this customer calls up and wants to hear about what happened on the scheduled service date, you can pull this up and you can talk to the customer. You can see who was there, what was done, what treatments there, etc. All of that's retained inside the software.
If you're getting some bulk chlorine from somewhere else, are you able to add that in and track that as well? Or is it just like individual products that you can get from Pool Corp that's in there?
So I call it your commodities, like your shock, your chlorine, your acid. Those are going to be more generic. It's going to be I added 2 cups of acid. I added a half a gallon of bleach. Those are more generic. But when you get into chemicals like algicides and you get into balancers, those are always going to be regular Easy Core brands. Now, if you yourself want to do the equivalents, I can't stop you. Obviously, I go for it, but I encourage you to kind of give the Easy Core and Regal brands a shot. The reason being for that, and it's a slide. Actually, I kind of share it. We'll jump out of the software real quick. Is that all of our software ultimately is backed by the Regal, Easy Chlor, and Life brands. And that's because we've invested a lot around the vertical integration. So you have your local branches, but I don't know if a lot of the industry knows we have a 110,000 square foot manufacturing facility that exists right behind me over here, where all of the Regal Easy Chlorine Life products are made. So when I have changes in densities, when I have updated products, when I have changes in prescriptions, I work one-on-one with the chemist to make sure that we're always recommending the proper dosage, the proper treatments, and we're never putting something into the water that isn't ultimately solving the problem. So we're always going to recommend the brands that we ultimately have control of manufacturing. So jumping kind of back in, that was a lot of kind of the cleaning piece, as all the way through to billing. That's kind of half of this product. The other half is everything else done in the backyard. Think of repairs, installs, outdoor kitchens, you name it. I mean, honestly, it can support any sort of job costing thing. This is done inside of what we call one-time services. So the easiest way for me really to kind of showcase some of the really cool features we built inside of one-time services is let's just do a heater install. So let's add one-time service. Let's say Aaron Burr called up and wants a new heater. So we're going to select service type. We can support a whole bunch of different service types depending on what your business offers, but this is obviously going to be an installation repair. Service description is heater install. If I want to keep this information down, anything that the customer told me about, maybe there's some notes that I want to display inside the technician app about this job, whether it's type plumbing or something else, I can type that down here and this will be saved down. When I save this, I've created kind of like a work order. I've created like a kind of job stepper flow at the top here. You see agreement sent, signed. The goal is let's get them through the process, quote, estimate, let's get the work done, invoice them and get paid. So this is a status update for this work order, this job that I'm creating. First thing up is the customer wants to know how much is a heater going to cost for me to install. So let's add an estimate. Couple things here. If I want to take some details about this estimates, I can. Again, if I want to feed the service tech any information, I can track that here. It's important to note that all of this estimator tool that we see here is also available for the repair techs on their phone if you want to give that permission to that repair tech. So they can edit it, add to it, they can create it all poolside. So they're never stuck calling back and forth between the office or local distribution trying to track down. They can give the customer the estimate, turn around their phone and say, here. But first up, let's add an item. So credit card required, say, yeah, we require it. And maybe we like to take security deposits of $500 for heater installs as our business practice. Let's add the item. Now say as part of our business, I install JXI 400s day in, day out. And that's actually, I think I don't. So I haven't installed the JX 500. It's actually clicked over to search Pool360. So what that did is I've never sold a JXI 400 before. It wasn't in my local inventory. It automatically is going to search all of Pool360 here, and it's going to pull up your retail mode pricing that you have inside of Pool360, and you can actually add that to the estimate. Now, it's important to know, what is this piece of equipment going to cost me from Pool Corp? So if I don't typically sell JXIs, I might not know the costing right off the bat. I hit show cost, and this is going to pull your pricing with Pool Corp, SCP or superior, and it's going to put the cost that they have right there, along with a real quick margin calculator. This is huge. So when I'm quoting the customer, even if it's something I'm familiar with or I'm unfamiliar, or those pesky vendors change their prices, as sometimes they do, I know what my cost basis is, and I know I can make money when I'm quoting this customer. Maybe I want to up that margin a little bit. I can change the price. I see what the margin is. I like what I see, and I add it down. So kind of going back to, I can also have kits, and there's things that I might sell as part of my business. Those are going to pull up on previous items real quickly. Maybe I charge PVC pipings, fittings, and material. I charge that every single time down. I save that light item down to my estimate. We also got to add labor as a component. We can track labor in QuickBooks as well. So it's important if you wanted to build out these categories and track this, I can. So heater installation, maybe I charge $350 flat fee for that. I add that to the quote. I've now created an estimate for my customer, and I know that my margins were something that I'm comfortable with. That's a very big piece. So we've covered the pricing and kind of margins component of this, but I also got to know, I got to get the dang heater installed. So from the estimate, I can actually order from Pool360, and it's going to pull any items I added from that Pool360 item, and I can go ahead and I can add them to my cart. So that means with inside the software here, I can go view to cart. This is going to kick open Pool360, and I can check out with my save credit card, my typical shipping or pickup, delivery, whatever my terms are with my local SCP and superior. This is going to add it right to the cart. I can click on it. It's going to open it up, and I can go through and I can take care of it right here inside of the cart. And you can see I've added a couple things, but there's the JXI that we added right in here. So this is a really important kind of integrated piece inside of this. It's something that we've invested a lot into, simply just because it's such a cumbersome process, really going through the quote standpoint and doing like making sure that you're maintaining margins when you're doing it. So this is something that we've spent a lot of time in making sure that we built in the software. And it's something I want to make sure that when your technicians are out there doing estimates or you're doing them on the phone, make sure you're making the money that you want to be.
Yeah. Are you able to set up commissions for your techs in there as
We
well?
we do have that coming. It's not available right now. Commissions are, let's see here. The way it's probably, I don't want to put a timeline on it, but pretty shortly out. It is in the setup area. You'd see it. It's just currently blocked out.
Okay.
So that is coming here shortly.
Okay. And then um and then can you set the margins in the office that you want to your techs to give people so that's not done willy-nilly?
Yes. So that's all part of the configuration. That's why on the onboarding we'll go through. Inside of Pool360 now, if you're not aware, there's a concept called retail mode where you can set your margins based on categories and subcategories. It's going to automatically pull from there if you want to. I also can edit it in the inventory tab inside of the pool service software. You can see that what was loading was actually my live cost and then my price setting. So if I want to set my equipment to a 35% margin, I set that and then all equipment's going to be 35% margin. And all of that's configurable and updatable, and you can customize it as well.
Okay. All right, great.
Yeah.
And maybe you're going to go over this a little bit later too, but as far as integrations with QuickBooks and all of that, I mean, a lot of people are mentioning that they use Square or Block for invoicing, but if you use this, do you want to set up a different credit card processing? Like, would it make sense to move everything into Pool360 instead of trying to integrate with those?
So there's two ways to do it. The most efficient way is put everything into Pool360 because then you're avoiding that duplicative entering. Now, for a credit card processor, there's really two options that we have. We currently use authorize.net, and you can either set up an entire payment processor and gateway where it's a one-stop shop, and we can set you that up and you can move everything over. Or if you have a processor that you really like Square, I can send the transaction to your processor. I think the fee on that is, don't quote me on, is 10 cents per transaction is the transaction-based fee of that, but we can send it along and you can use the processor that you're currently using. But I would recommend moving all of your invoice activity, and I'll show you kind of why here. The piece of that, now that I kind of going back to that one-time service, that quote that I just did, what is the customer ultimately going to receive? Well, they're going to get an email that looks super professional, and then they're going to get a very professional looking quote. They're going to have everything you wrote on here along with all of their information. They can type out their credit card. If they have a saved card, they can use a saved card. If you had any terms and conditions assigned with this service type, they would display here. And then I can type their name and I can sign this signature here and I can agree and agree. So this is actually going to track inside of the software everything that's done. So in order to kind of invoice them, bill them, and create that experience with the customers, like, yeah, save my card on file. And next time you want to change the skimmer basket, just hit me an invoice and hit OK. It makes it very easy to do. So I always recommend moving everything into one place because it just removes all that administrative work.
Okay, great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you kind of answered this a little bit about what the customer sees when they get sent something after a service or when they get an estimate, and you kind of showed that a little bit, but I imagine you can kind of control what they get to see too, as far as the notes and stuff.
Yes, all of that you ultimately you get to, so that's why we always highlight technician notes, customer notes is, so okay, I'm not going to put, and it's always dangerous, don't put something in the completion notes that gets sent to the customer. It's an option. You don't have to, but don't put something like, customer's a pain in the rear end or something like that. Like obviously it's going to the customer.
Okay.
So it's always want to be careful, but all that comes down to the setup, and this is why we have the onboarding team. It's a big piece of it, is that when you go through and you want to do, kind of, let's go through email templates. Like you can generate a whole bunch of emails based on actions taken in the software, and I can also choose what sort of things I want to include in here. If I want those notes to go to customers, I can add completion notes. If I never want the customers to see completion notes, don't add them, and the customers will never get them. And this is all optional. You don't have to do service completion if you don't want to, though it is, quickly becoming industry best practice.
Okay, great. And then so do you have an open API for this, or will you have an open API?
Open API to integrate with other software platforms.
Yeah.
Currently, no. We integrate with QuickBooks right now, and then we integrate with all other Pool360 products.
Okay.
So if you're kind of a multi-unit operator in the sense that you have a retail store, you have a service operation, you have a build operation, we integrate with Pool360 Water Test. We'll integrate with the upcoming POS solution, but we don't have an open API to integrate with other service software. No.
Okay. All right. I'm not sure I understand this question, so I'm going to ask it. But they
Okay.
asked, given your terms and conditions, are you allowed to share our customers' data with Pinch a Penny?
That's a good one. I like it.
Okay, good. There you go. You
So
stumped me on that one, guys.
I love to dispel this. But yes, yeah, Pinch a Penny is a franchise offering. They are independent dealers. And
Right.
obviously they fall under the Pool Corp umbrella.
Right.
When you sign the license agreement, there's a clause inside the license agreement that I specifically put that we would not transfer, sell, or do anything with your data to a competitor. Pinch a Penny is an independent owner. You as a customer is an independent owner. That is your competitor. So no, they do not get any of your information. They are completely separated. They are walled off, and there is no information sharing.
Okay. But if they want to share information, could they? Like if
No, I
they
wouldn't do it even if they wanted to, frankly.
got it.
But
Okay.
but
All right.
I can't imagine for a reason that they would want to.
Okay. All right,
It
great.
is at the end of the day, it's your data. We have to have a license agreement as a software company to move data between different solutions. I mean, think about if you have water testing, you have service, I'm moving customer information. I got to be able to move the data, but ultimately, I'm never giving it to your competition. That's full clear inside of the license agreement.
Okay. All right.
And if you ever have any questions, that contact the onboarding team. I'll show you guys who they are in a bit, and they can explain ad nauseum.
Okay.
I never want that to be a reason to prevent software adoption.
Got it. Got it. And is there going to be a POS software with this?
Yeah, so POS is coming soon. I'll jump back into the presentation here and kind of go over a little bit of what we're doing here. We're
Okay.
going out of order, but I actually kind of like it
I
because
know.
it's what ultimately people care about, right?
Yep.
So, if you look at our software solutions here, this is kind of where we're at right now. B2B is your Pool360 ecom. Order replenishment, your inventory replenishment, buy them, pick up at the branch, all of that. Water test we launched out, that's your retail solution. Pool service is what we launched this year, and that's all about the backyard operations, installs, cleanings, etc. And then we do have more tools to come. If you've been to some of our events, you've probably seen some teasers at the POS. It's something that we are developing.
Okay. All right,
So
great.
it will be coming shortly. Again, all integrated, same CRM, same information. One of the things you'll notice on the water test, there's a barcode, and I get the questions, why is there a barcode on top of my water test? Well, that's because when the customer comes to your POS solution, they scan it and it pulls up their account. So we've been building these in tandem to make sure they work well with each other when they are released.
Awesome.
So no, it's a great question.
You guys have had excellent questions so far. Keep them coming. But let's get to the Pool Tech app, because that's another key piece that we haven't got to yet. Excuse me. We've only got 15 minutes left, so we got to hustle.
I like it. I can talk quick. So, all right. So the Pool Tech app, I'd love to show it, but it would look terrible on my phone. But the key things about the Pool Tech app is it's all about managing the technician through their workflow in the day. So they're going to open up their phone. The first thing they're going to see is Pool360 mobile, and they'll see a service technician right on the bottom hand right screen. I might have a picture of it right here. This is ultimately what the technician app looks like. When the tech logs in, they're going to see first up is routes, and it's going to have their routes listed in order, the same exact order that you saw in the management app. They can click and it will route them to that address if they so choose to, or if they're already there, they click open and you hit start. That's going to trigger the calculation for your start time. So if you're starting at 11 o'clock, it says starting at 11 o'clock. Great. Next thing up is it's going to say is create a water test. And there's a couple different ways we can create a water test. You can manually do it if you're using, test strips or, test blocks, titration, and you can, go through and slide through what the adjustments are. We support the full 16-way water analysis. You don't have to do it on every pool. So if you do 5 or 7 ways, that's absolutely fine. It's only going to generate recommendations for those unbalanced water metrics that you test. Important pieces, we do work with the Lamont device. So if you are using the spin disk and you want to use that with Pool360 Pool Service, it connects with Bluetooth automatically. If you're familiar with the Bluetooth capabilities, it just sends it shows up inside of the software, and you hit OK, and that triggers your recommendations. So it's a great way to, kind of manage consistency across water testing. There's a couple different discs that the service industry uses, and sort of whether you want to do like the 10-way test, or you want to do 3-way, and then once a month the 10-way test. There's a couple different ways you can manage that as your business, and we can support however it is you want it. And ultimately, all of that information does flow back to the manager app.
If they're not using a Lamont device, can it does the app like calculate LSI if they punch in the numbers, or what does that look like?
The app does calculate LSI, and it will be right underneath it when you fill out all of the parameters that are necessary to calculate LSI. Main being is you have to put in temperature. So if you don't put in temperature, I can't calculate LSI. So, but if you put in all of the seven, what's it called, metrics, and as well as temperature, I will calculate LSI for you.
Great.
And the technician can see that, the manager can see it. It's saved inside of all of the service detail information as well. So from there, you go through and you say, okay, I do my checklist. There was that custom checklist that we showed inside. That same checklist is inside the mobile app. And it's just check, check, check. Override if I need to, a place to type any completion notes, and then ultimately close the service. Now, there's a couple different, excuse me, sorry, things I can do on closing a service. If you want, I can generate an email that goes to the customer, and you can put in a whole bunch of kind of custom information. That's where this comes in. Okay, dear customer, we're delighted that your recent service has been completed successfully. Your technician, the technician name, a way to really just establish some customer service. This can be triggered. Tech can say close, and the customer receives this along with service photo. If you want to display your water analysis results, I don't always recommend that when I get that question a lot, but think about it. Your technicians test the water before adding anything to it. So it's typically going to be unbalanced, and serving up an email to your customer saying, oh, your water's out of balance makes them wonder, okay, wait, why is my water out of balance? I pay you to balance it. Well, it's because it's before I added any chemicals. So that sometimes causes confusion. So I always caution on that one a little bit, but it is something a request we get a whole lot of.
I'm glad you brought up emails because we did have somebody ask. So the software that they're currently using sends emails from their server instead of from the companies, and so they said a lot of times their stuff and invoices end up in customers' junk because they don't recognize this sender. How do you guys handle that?
Ours does send from ours. So it's something I haven't had anyone complain about the junk, but theoretically, I guess it could happen. You want to make sure that your customers are looking for the correct URL.
Okay. Okay. And then if you have a tech that is in a place that doesn't have any cell phone service, is there an offline mode like this? Can you still use this even if you're not if you're not connected to the internet?
So the offline mode is something we're working on. It's a big request. It's something that we get a lot, and it's something that we will probably it's actively testing now. So it's not available yet, but it's kind of what we said is we launched this a couple months ago, and that's one of the biggest features that we heard about. We're like, okay, let's go invest in it. So we're building that out now, and that's definitely something that's coming.
Who knew people live where there's no service?
It's funny, and it's not even like where it's all that it's not even sometimes where you think.
Sure.
Like
Yep.
it's
Yep,
you go into a subdivision and the Wi-Fi just cuts for a block, and it's like right now is we do have the ability that you can take the picture and you can upload it afterwards, so you can still ensure that customer experience. But I know the optimal experience is to do that poolside and not have to do it when I've rounded the corner and I've gotten self-service back.
Okay. So going back to the emails, I mean, they will know the URL that the email is coming from, so they can communicate that to their customer and have them ready for it. They can.
Yes, it'll come from it's Pool360 URL is ultimately what it comes from. And then also if you wanted to, you can BC the office email on every single one and you can forward them along if you have a customer that can't find it.
Okay. So with the integration and if you have like the gallonage in the pool, it will give you recommendations on exactly what to do to balance the water, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So when you're going through and doing a water test, all the recommendations are inside of the phone as well.
Okay.
So like here's a water analysis. We can see we have high pH, we have high chlorine, and we have iron that's high. So we recommended metal out. And it's going to tell you that 2.5 quarts, this is based on the gallonage of pool that we have stored for that customer inside. So if you have an inexperienced technician, it's follow the recipe and make sure that you're adding the proper dosages. That way we ensure that the water chemistry is fixed, that the water is balanced, and that we didn't damage anything on the either the equipment pad or the surface.
Okay, great. And then the office staff, they can see everything that the tech sees in their app, correct? Everything gets sent back to the office. They can see everything that the tech sees or the tech.
Everything inside of here, yeah. So if I just go ahead and I want to open up this service, so if I click here and I hit the service details, everything done on this service is inside of this service tab, and this never goes away.
Great.
Awesome. So kind of going through here, another big feature of the application, we got about 10 minutes here left, is reporting. We can pull a whole lot of data out of here. There's a lot of like kind of normal reports, AR aging, invoice, items by location, things like mailing labels. Do you send out Thanksgiving cards every single month? We generate mailing labels, put a label sheet in there and print them off. If we can save time in the software, because we do have that CRM piece, we try to think of it and build it. So if you guys ever have ideas that we can add, I'm always looking for cool things to do. And this is one of them that's pretty neat.
I wish we had software that did that. That would save
It
me.
seems silly. It's nothing to do with pool, but it definitely saves time.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of this is all configurable inside of this setup tab. So we'll jump out of the demo here and we'll go back into kind of the presentation here. Hopefully that switched over. So a big piece of our software is in addition to a lot of the software components is everything around the software. So making the switch. So I talked about that customer conversion, that data conversion, the onboarding process. We have a really large team dedicated to doing this. So what you'll see on the screen here is some of the managers and directors that oversee some of the various functions on pool service in terms of implementation as well as onboarding. So if you're interested in Pool360 pool service, you could get a demo, and Alan or Don, you might get a hold of one of them and they'll give you a one-on-one demo. They'll go into details of the pieces of the software that matter to you. And then if you like it, you sign up, you'll get handed over to Gary and David's team, who will help onboard you. And the process will look somewhat like this. You're going to get a quick call for us to do some discovery about your business in the sense of, do you bill for chemicals? What do you do for invoicing? Do you invoice monthly, weekly, by visit, you name it? That way we can configure in the back end the software for you. You can do it all yourself in the setup, but if I can take that work from you, we're all busy people. I'll try to take that work from you. And we'll do that in the 1 to 2 weeks between what I call discovery and configure. But at this point on the configure, we've configured as much as possible inside the software so you don't have to.
And then if someone's interested in Pool360, can one of those guys actually come out to one of their branches and do a demo, or is this kind of all Zoom?
So this is all virtual from like the 360 team, but your local branch does have resources.
Okay, great.
So like your local BDRs, your local counter staff, they absolutely can help you out. A lot of times we team up. So it might be like a local BDR and as well as someone on my team, and we go through and we do all this together at once. And that way you have like your local representation who's familiar with this, can help you do it, and you have the expert on the line to make sure, okay, all these check marks are actually taken care of. So from the configure, we want to go live. This is training. Training for you, training for your team, technicians, bring everyone you want to this. We'll train mobile tech users. We'll train anything. We'll make sure techs get on the app and that they're actually using on the phone. Whatever we can do to make this an easier adoption, we'll try to do. Software conversion, I can't ever make it effortless, but the goal is to make it as effortless as humanly possible, is ultimately what we do. So if there's anything that we can do, we'll try to take care of
Do you
inside of that.
need do you need a Pool Corp account to sign up for Pool360? I would imagine you would.
You need a Pool360 account. So,
Okay.
and that's part of it. You sign up for it. There's a little button. If you don't have a Pool360 account, you can create one and we'll go through that process. But you can go through the same exact funnel, talk to the sales guys, and they'll get you set up on an account. And we'll make sure that we get you up and running on Pool360 as well as service at the same time. So you're not spending a whole bunch of time doing a whole bunch of different things. It's all one ecosystem, one kind of, world. So once you set up on one, it's pretty easy to set up 2, 3, 4, and 5. Absolutely. So kind of keep going here. We kind of touched on the vertical integration piece. We kind of touched on, that piece. We have some testimonials here. We have, a lot of people that have used the software in the last, 7 months now that we've been actively live. Then we also did a long beta test before that with a lot of pools. So, speak to other people, ask what they're doing, check out. It's always good to hear. But I do want to leave some time in the sense that we have 5 minutes back. I thank you guys. I always say we're doing a whole bunch of exciting stuff. I think on this one, we gave away that truck 2 weeks ago to a customer, which was awesome. It was a raffle. So we're always doing fun, type things. We might be in your area. Follow us on social to kind of keep on track of that. We try to post it to our Instagram account and LinkedIn accounts pretty often. So if you want to see if we're in your area, just, follow us on social media. Other than that, I'd like to open up for a Q&A.
Yeah. So, I mean, everyone wants to know what it costs. That's one thing we didn't touch on yet.
We did. That's because it was up here and we skipped it. It's $1 per pool in a service in a given month. No minimums, no monthly fee. We're running a 60-day free trial. And I don't care how many times you go to a customer on a monthly basis, whether it's 2, 3, or 4 times, it's $1 for that pool for that month.
Great.
Same thing if I do a heater install in January and that's it, dollar in January.
Awesome. Is there a GPS component to the software?
Not yet. Working
Okay.
on it.
Working on it. All right.
Working on it. Work in progress.
All right, great. So back to the cost, one quick question. Is it active customers or total customers?
Active customers. So think of that as like if you make money, there's a fee. So if they're just customers loaded in, no.
All right. Yeah. So if you're loading all of your leads in there, you're not paying for those leads until
No,
they act.
not at all. Only if you visit that site.
Okay. All right,
And
great.
tasks are free. So that's why the task component exists. If it's a meeting to talk about something, I'm not charging for that. It's
Okay.
just a task.
Okay. So the POS system that is coming soon, that was when you said it was coming soon, right? That was the timeline that you gave. Someone asked that.
Yes, I can't speak to an official timeline, but it's definitely next
Great.
year.
All right. But will that be for retail or for taking payments in the field?
Pool360 Pool Service takes payments in the field.
Okay. Okay,
The
great.
POS would really be for retail. It's inventory management is the
Okay,
big
so that would be like barcoding and stuff.
and or replenishment, min maxes, stocking the shelves, managing an inventory in a warehouse, tracking inventory between what's in my retail store and what's on a truck. All of that exists in the POS.
Okay. Okay, great. So if they do one job for a customer one time, do they keep getting billed for that customer every month?
Just that month that they did the work.
That month. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And then I think, are people charged per transaction? There's transaction or processing fees, transaction fees, all of that stuff.
Oh, yeah. So credit card processing, it's not something I'm not interested in the business of like making, credit card. It's really what your provider chooses. If it's your processor that I'm passing it through is whatever rates your provider is. If you go with authorized.net, it's just one that we offer currently. They charge, it's 2.9% plus 30 cents.
Okay, great. And you guys can work with the history and data from other softwares and help get all of that information loaded.
Yeah.
Like, can you see your customer history more than just their name and like uploading your customers? Can you see all of that data that you've already collected on them in other softwares?
I can't so if you're using another software, I can't take like service history and load it into Pool360 service because it wasn't service actions that were done inside of 360 service. I can take structure information, customer information, like static information like that. If you want to access previous, for transition, I'd recommend keeping both alive.
Okay, got it. And you can and obviously you can put your logo in there, like for invoices for customers.
Yeah,
So
all you saw that Pool360, that's your logo.
got it. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. It's all customizable. Your store information, your logo, everything, your contact information, not ours.
Okay. Okay, great. Can the processing go through QuickBooks?
Working with QuickBooks for them to allow that. Yeah, we're going to try. Not right now. Right now it's journaling, accounting, and stuff like that. But they're working on an API for that. So I'm hoping to announce that shortly.
Okay, great. And people have asked, we will have this recording available for people after the fact, so you can go back and rewatch it if you have any questions on that. One question that we got earlier that we didn't get to is if you place an order for a heater, will there be a link to the specific heater when the order is placed so that all the information is in the customer's file? I'm pretty sure you showed that like once you add that product information or that product, the information's kind of there, right?
Oh, like to the estimate? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're adding that to the estimate. It goes to the customer, and you're placing the order with your local branch.
Okay. Hopefully I asked that question in the right way. I may have misunderstood what they were looking for.
No worries. And if there's anything that wasn't unclear, like all the contact information, reach out to us and we can answer it. It's shoot us an email at pool360 at poolservice@pool360.com, and we'll get you an answer. We can set you up with a demo. We can make sure it's the right fit for your business. At the end of the day, like if it's not helping you, it's not something that you see value in. So when it comes to like choosing the software, Pool360 service, like I want to make sure that it fits your company, and we've built it so huge that sometimes it can seem like, oh my gosh, it's a massive product. But it's also because everyone runs their business slightly differently. So I want to make sure I can configure it and optimize it to really help you. And that's where some of those pieces come in, because there's going to be some owners that, I want my repair techs to see all this. Some are saying, I don't want them to see anything. And that's all part of the configuration process.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I'm impressed with is that you can kind of make it suit all these different ways that people run their business because no two service companies look alike. I mean, everyone does things a little bit different for their area, for their business, for who they have on staff currently. Like things change, like it's very fluid. And so it's nice that it seems like you can kind of get it set up for how you do business right now, which is not which is not really the norm from what I've seen from other solutions.
No, it's hard to do. It's an expensive way to develop. It's like kind of like the routing thing, like all that drag and drop. Like it's like, oh, I just dragged them over here, but like what I really did is change technician, change days, change my routing algorithm, change my GPS where it's going to tell me to go. And oh, I got to make sure I take all of those customized checklists, everything else. So like to build it out to be that customer, it's custom. It's difficult to do, but it's where you save the most time. So it's where we also invested the most money
Yeah.
is in those integrations, the routing pieces, the automated billing, because that's where I can save hours, not minutes.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jim, thank you so much. I feel like we went through that like fast and furious. That hour went by very quickly. But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming on. Thank you so much for all of your questions. I had a hard time keeping up with them. There were so many at some points. So I know there are things that we didn't get to, some specific questions. And so yeah, for sure, follow up. Jim and his team will be very happy to help you with all of those specific questions. And as the season winds down, I'm sure they're going to be very busy helping people actually get this integrated. So,
Yes, as I said, please reach out to us. I have no shortage of people. I appreciate you guys all for taking the time.
yeah,
At the end of the day, this was awesome, and thank you, Megan. I thank you for having us on today.
yeah, thanks so much. All right, we will send this out again, so don't worry, you will have access to this video so you can watch it after we're done. But yeah, thanks, Jim. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.